Hi everyone, Connor here. So I recently made a video talking through 15 types of hybrid parrot cichlids that are available. And so today I want to do a follow-up video to that. It's a new style of video I haven't done before, but I have enjoyed watching tier list videos done by other creators on various topics. So I want to give my go at that today. Sort of more of a fun video, but also to help anyone thinking of getting a parrot cichlid, if they see all those types, kind of go through the pros and cons and how I personally would rate them and the ones I want the most and would want the least or would never get myself. And I'm very curious how others would rate them, so please let me know in the description, even give me your tier list breakdown. And anyway, let's get into it. So let's switch over to my laptop and get into the actual tier list. All right, so here we go with the tier list. I'm gonna go S through D because that's the website defaulted to. And I think there's not that many parrots, so we don't really need to add an F. D will be the worst tier. Hopefully the audio is alright. It's the first time recording like this, and my guinea pigs are actually right here next to me, and it's almost lunchtime, so they might be squeaking a bit, but we'll see. But anyway, let's get into it. We're going to start here with the original default Blood Parrot. So they're very common. You can get them often. They're all going to look pretty consistent. Sometimes they fade when they're older. Sometimes they get larger than others, but they're all going to be pretty consistent that you get, so I think they're a pretty safe bet. They go with almost anything. They're overall pretty cheap if you get them small. Anywhere from like $10 if you get them at a chain store all the way up to like $40-50 at some local fish stores. But pretty cheap. They do get more expensive as they get larger, but you can get them cheap and small pretty easily. They go with so many tank meets, that's another good thing. They really are a pretty good community fish in general. Some are aggressive, but overall pretty good. And so I'm going to put them in the A tier overall and kind of base everything else around that. Next tier, we're going to go to the King Kong Parrot. And so they're similar to the Blood Parrot, similar looks. They sometimes come in different colors, but so do Blood Parrots. And they are just a larger version of them. They're going to get from about 10 to 12 inches, where Blood Parrot's going to get to about 6 to 8 inches. They are known to be a bit more aggressive just because they get larger, but it's kind of hit or miss with that as well. They are going to be a bit more expensive just because they're rare, and they are going to be pretty difficult to find, in my opinion, at least in stores. I'll see one here or there in a store, local fish store, but you can find them online too, although I don't know that they're always labeled correctly. Either way, I think I'm going to put that also in the A tier just because they look really cool. It really depends if you have a tank large enough for them, but I think they're a great option if you do have a tank large enough for them. I actually really want in the future now that I've had Blood Parrots for a while, but I don't know that I have a tank that quite fits them yet, so I'm going to probably wait till I upgrade to a 125 or so. Next, we have the Red Mammon, also known as the Super King Kong Parrot, so an even larger version. Now, these guys are known to be deep red. Sometimes they can be more orange, like this picture I have here, but they get even larger than a King Kong Parrot, anywhere from 12 to 16 inches. They look really, really awesome, but there are some downsides. Sometimes I've seen them to look kind of faded. And they are known to have a neutral hump, but sometimes I'll see amazing neutral humps, and sometimes I won't see ones that have many at all. They're very rare. They're very, very expensive. For large ones, you're going to be looking at upwards of $500 or more. And another bad thing about them is reading on forums a lot, that it seems like it's one that's counterfeited a lot. You'll just have regular King Kong Parrot. Some will name it as a Super King Kong Parrot or a Mammon, just to make it sell for more money. So it is really hard. The official site that makes them, the official breeder, says they always come with a certificate, but I don't know if you can always get that, so that's something to keep in mind. I'm overall going to put them in a B tier. I think they look super awesome, but just because they are counterfeited and they don't always have the features you want, like a big neutral hump, and they might be faded, I think it's hard to get what you want, especially if you get them small. They might not look what you want when they get older. Next, we're going to go on the Jellybean Parrot. So this is basically the same size as a Blood Parrot, but they have been artificially dyed. And so they come in all the rainbow colors. You'll usually see them in stores, blue like this one, green, purple, yellow, although there are natural yellow parrots. But they are artificially dyed, and the process is pretty unethical. There's actually a video on YouTube of someone who's basically just injecting them with a syringe, and afterwards a lot of them floating on the side until they kind of recover from it, so it looks pretty awful. Overall, they're seen as very negative in the hobby, so I'm going to put them in D tier. I would never get one of these, and I highly recommend not getting one. Also, another bad thing is because the dye is artificial, when they grow up and get older, Usually that fades. It's almost always. It's pretty much everyone reports. So even though they'll be like all bright and colorful when you get them small at the store, that'll pretty much fade and almost be like kind of like a neutral, very faded color. So I would just not recommend them. I wouldn't get them personally. And if you have one, you know, I'd say take care of it. But you know, in general, I wouldn't get one in the future. Next, we're going on to another one that is also not the best, pretty unethical in my opinion, is the Heart Parrot. And so it's a blood parrot, but it doesn't have the tail, and so that the two back fins here, they make it look like a heart. And it's reported that this is done by actually snipping the tail when it's very young, and then it doesn't grow back, and it gets this shape. So very unethical again. I'm going to put this in D tier. You know, actually, it sounds almost even worse than dying them, although they both sound pretty bad. But I would never get this. Thankfully, although I do see the Jellybean Parrot still pretty common in local fish stores, I never have seen a Heart Parrot in the last few years of the hobby. So hopefully they're pretty much phasing out, and hopefully people aren't buying them. So, you know, there's no demand for them. So I wouldn't recommend getting any of these. I'm going to rate them D tier, and yeah, just because of the unethical behavior, and you can get them just by breeding. Next here, we're going to go to the Polar Blue Parrot. So if you've been following my channel, you know this is a species I love. Actually, a species I'm starting to breed now. I think the color on these are absolutely amazing. They have such a cool, almost like a tiger leopard stripe pattern. They have really cool deep blue. A lot of the males, their back fins get a nice like red gradient, and the females get cool like red orange, a little bit of yellow in the belly, and just look amazing. Only negative is they can be aggressive. It's kind of hit or miss. I'd say overall more aggressive than a blood parrot, but it depends. Some are super peaceful, super chill. Some you'll get a real bad one and it'll be super aggressive, just like a convict where they're related to. And then they do breed. They're overall pretty aggressive. But I'm actually going to put them in S tier just because I think they look awesome. And if you get peaceful ones, they can probably go with a lot of tank mates. Another beneficial thing, depending on how you look at it, is to get much smaller than a blood parrot, so you can put them in a smaller tank. Blood parrot, for one, you really need a 29 gallon. For more than one, you're really going to need 50 gallon plus. Polar parrots, I think you could put one or two in a 20 gallon, no problem. They only get the 3 to 4 inches maximum size. And so, yeah, I absolutely love them, so I'm going to put it S tier. Basically just for the looks and the dynamics of like all the aquariums you can put them in. Next is the Platinum Parrot. So this is just a color morph of the Polar Blue Parrot, and it's all white, so it's going to have all the same traits as the Polar Parrot, same size, same aggression level, can be aggressive, not always. Just the color is just a white. So the color is not as cool. I'm kind of in the middle between putting this in A or B tier. I personally am not a big fan of white. It's kind of boring to me. I love the Polar Parrots, but I think in a certain setup they could look really cool. So it's kind of up to you if you like how they look. I think I'm going to put them in the B tiers because I do think the color is kind of boring. I wish they had more different variations of the Polar Parrot that was different colors. And then after that, we're going to go on to the Panda Parrot. So this is a morph of the Blood Parrot. It's a mostly white body with black markings on it, and black markings can be all sorts. They can be just a little, they can be a lot, they can be like tiger striped. Here's one where it has a few markings in the middle, one on its head, and then a lot on its tail. Now, I have seen these somewhat often in stores. They are going to be way less common than your Blood Parrot or your Polar Blue Parrot or even your Platinum Parrot. But I'll see them here and there. The one thing I'll say is you'll find some really nice pictures of them online. There's really nice pictures on Instagram people have. But in general, when I'm seeing them in stores, they look pretty lackluster. They look just like white with some like gray on them. They really don't look too good. And so I think you can find amazing looking ones of this variation, but in general, they look pretty lackluster. And every time I've seen them in a store, I'm like, yeah, I wouldn't want one of them. You know, I'd much rather just go with the original Blood Parrot any day. So I'm not a big fan of them. I'm going to put them in C tiers because I think generally they're going to look pretty lackluster. They can look cool. But you know, you really got to probably search around and make sure you get a good one. This isn't a species I'd ever order online just because I've seen so many ones that look pretty mediocre in stores. You know, I wouldn't take my guess without seeing a specific one. Even then, I probably want to buy one that was at least a medium size, because I'm sure the pattern will change a bit. Next one that's kind of similar to that is the Santa Parrot. So they're going to be either a mostly white body or a mostly red body. And then they're going to have some red or some orange mixed in with the body. So it's going to be similar to the Panda Parrot, how it's white and black, but this is going to be either white and red or orange and red. That's kind of why they call them the Santa Parrot. And really, this is very similar. I've seen some amazing ones online, some amazing ones on Instagram that have like a really cool balance of the pattern and really cool mixed in. But when I've seen them in stores, they just look kind of lackluster. Like these two right here, I don't really think those are cool. I think it looks actually pretty ugly in my opinion. And most of the time I've seen it, it looks kind of not too great. So again, I wouldn't recommend buying them online. If I bought them in a store, I want to make sure they're like at least medium size, so you kind of know what their end pattern will look like. But most of the ones I've seen look pretty lackluster, and I would just want a normal Blood Parrot any day over this one. And again, I've seen about as common as the Panda Parrot, here and there at local fish stores. But again, I'm going to put them in C. I'm really not a fan of them. I just want a normal Blood Parrot over them any day. Next, also kind of similar in this kind of category, is the Tiger Parrot. So now this is going to be either a Blood Parrot that's orange-red, or it could be a yellow one as well, and then they're going to have black markings. A lot of times, as your Blood Parrot grows up, you'll get black marks temporarily. These are ones that are going to keep them throughout their lifetime. And so the pattern, again, like the Panda and Santa Parrot, it can really vary. It can be like this, a lot of black. This one's actually really cool, I think. It's a lot of black, and then it's kind of almost like stripes in it. It could be just like a tiny bit. It could be a lot. It could be some black just on the face or just on the tail. So it really does vary a lot. I will say in general, when I've seen these, I have seen them look better than the Pandas and the Santas. So I just think maybe just even though the pattern can really vary, just having the black on the yellow or orange just looks better than with the white. So I'm going to put these B tier. Again, I wouldn't put them A tier just because I think the pattern can really vary, and there's a good chance that if you bought one online, for example, it might not look how you imagined or wanted. You might see a picture like this, it looks really cool, and then it might just have like a couple of black marks, for example, or like places you wouldn't really want it. So that's kind of my opinion on them. If I had to go between, the reason I picked B is because I had to pick between a Tiger, Panda, or Santa. I'd go Tiger any day. Whether I could see it or not, I would just go with that. I think that one looks the coolest by far. Damn, someone's got a lawnmower, so we're going to pause here, and we will come back in a bit. Alright, and I'm back. Yeah, there was a lawnmower right outside my window, so it was real loud, even loud for me, so I assumed the audio would be terrible. So I took a little break, but we're back. Got about 5 more to go. So right now we're going to the Crystal Parrot. So this is a really cool parrot in my opinion. Basically very similar in size to the Blood Parrot most of the time, but it's got little specks throughout its body, hence the name Crystal, usually supposed to be shiny. And so if you know what a Texas cichlid looks like, it's basically a combination of a Blood Parrot and Texas cichlid. That isn't necessarily directly how they make it, but that's kind of the idea. And so I've seen them in red with like white specks. I've seen them either they're called black or blue crystal parrots, with a bit darker, almost like a purple kind of hue. And either time they look absolutely amazing and stunning. They're very rare, very hard to find, and because of that, they're very expensive. I've always seen them hundreds of dollars. So that is a downfall. I'm very in between A and B here. Because B almost just because they're very expensive and very rare, but A because they just look awesome. I definitely want one in the future, and I think because of that, I am going to put them in A actually. Next, we go on to the Flowerhorn Parrot, and so this is one that is basically similar to how the Crystal is a mix between a Blood Parrot and Texas. This is a mix between a Blood Parrot and a Flowerhorn. So they usually have really, really cool patterns. The one bad thing though is that I see so many variations of them. I see ones like this one here, looks really, really awesome, and I've seen some more really awesome ones, but I've also seen ones for sale that look really lackluster and look very mediocre. And I've seen a lot of ones on eBay where I don't know how they grew up to, and I almost think because they look kind of lackluster in some of the pictures, they probably don't grow up that cool because they are like hybrids of hybrids. So one thing to keep in mind is I would probably want to get them at more of a medium size, if not a large size, just so you know what they look like when they're grown up. Because I think if you buy like a small one, baby one online, or even on the store, there's a chance it could grow up to like really look really very lackluster. And these are generally going to be a bit more pricey than a Blood Parrot or something like that. But if you do find a cool one, they look absolutely stunning. And like this main one they have on the tier list, I absolutely would love one like that if I ever found one in a store in the future. I think overall, I'm going to put them at B. I think just because there's so many that don't look cool and there's so many variations. Let's show some ugly ones here. If they all look like that, I'd probably put them in a C tier. But if they all look cool, I'd probably put them in A tier like Crystal Parrot. But they're kind of can go either way, so that's why I put them in a B there. Next, we have the Yuan Bao Parrot. And so this is one I've seen in the store once, and I've seen on eBay before. Otherwise, they're very rare. They are very similar to the Crystal Parrot in terms of they have those little like shiny specks throughout the body. And they're overall like very, Yuan Bao generally means a coin, so it's very like round shape. These, in my opinion, are not really that cool. When I saw them in the store, I was like, oh, cool, unique, another new like kind of parrot hybrid. But then when I looked at them more, I was like, nothing really special. And I look at this one, you know, I don't know. I think I'd rather just have like a Crystal Parrot. I think they're kind of lackluster. They are very rare. Price I've seen is kind of in the middle. At least for smaller ones, you know, anywhere from like $30 to $80. Not too expensive, but they're kind of rare. And I don't know, they just didn't really look too cool in my opinion. So I'm gonna put them in C tier. Next, we have the Red Head Parrot. So this is one I put in my list of all the parrot species I was going over when I made that video. And this is one I found on a breeder's website. They have just a red head, almost a full white body. And the head's almost even like pinkish, but I've never seen this one in store. I've never seen it listed for actual sale other than on the breeder's website. So I don't know like if this one ever will come around or not. So really the only bad thing about this is it's very rare. Otherwise, I think it's very unique and very cool. I don't think it's dyed, but I don't know if it is dyed. I put it in a D, obviously, but I'm going to assume it's not. I think it is very unique and really cool. If they were more available, I'd probably put it in A, but I'm kind of between A and B just because they're not very available. And I don't know if they would always look as cool as they look in this picture because there's not really much of a sample size at all. So I am going to put them in B because of that. But if they became more available and were cool, they could definitely go up to the A tier, definitely. And then last we have, which is not actually a hybrid, it's actually the true Parrot Cichlids. This is the OG original before any hybrids came along. The true Parrot Cichlid is what it's called. They get very, very large, so that's one thing to keep in mind, anywhere from like 12 to 20 inches. They are pretty aggressive, so that's another con unless you're keeping an aggressive tank. But when they're adults, they look super cool. They do have not maybe quite as parrot-like shape as a blood parrot, but they do have this cool kind of like parrot mouth, and the colors when they're adults just look very, very cool. It's like almost a turquoise, but mixed with other colors throughout the body. I think they're really cool. I'm going to go put them in A tier. The only reason I'm not going to put them in S tier, and some people might complain about that, is just because they're so large and they are aggressive, and I think because they get that large, really not that many people can keep them. That's kind of a limited kind of niche of people that can actually keep them. So anyway, that's going to close out the tier list here.
So that wraps up my tier list for Parrot Cichlids. It was a fun video to make, a new one for me, so definitely let me know your thoughts on it. If you liked it, you'd love to see it again for other species. But anyway, I do want to do more species lists in the future in general, and then possibly follow it up with a tier list like this, but we'll see. But anyway, I want to thank everyone for watching, especially if you stayed until the end and you're seeing this. And let me know any questions and your own tier list as well. But anyways, I'll close it out here. So thanks again for watching, and I'll catch everyone next time.